The GOAT says super teams are hurting the league. Oh, Max Kellerman, please talk to me.
This takes so much nerve by Michael Jordan. Look, Michael Jordan is the greatest athlete in the history of American team sports, and it ain't close. Forget about just the NBA. There's never been a Michael Jordan, one of a kind, the top, number one. But for a while, he was also the Michael Jordan of bad owners. I mean, his team stunk. So this takes a lot of nerve on two counts. One, Mike, you had Pippen and Grant and shooters everywhere you looked and the best coach in the league. And then when you lost Grant, you came back and got Rodman. What are you talking about lamenting super teams? That's one. Two, timeout, Mike. You have owned the Charlotte franchise for longer than the Warriors have been good or have had any of these players, as a matter of fact. So if there's a super team, why isn't it in Charlotte? That's on you. Don't cry because the Warriors put together a super team, or there's only one LeBron. Go get LeBron. And if you can't, you construct a super team like they did with the Warriors. And by the way, those aren't the only two good teams in the league. But Charlotte is consistently not an elite team, hasn't been an elite team ever under Jordan's ownership. So it takes a lot of nerve for the best who ever did it, who played on super teams, to come out and say it, who's an owner while other teams are becoming super teams. It's not like Oakland is so much more desirable than Charlotte, right, as in terms of being a market. It takes a lot of nerve for Jordan to complain about this, Stephen A.
Well, it takes a lot of nerve to you to complain about him because you need to know what you're talking about. First of all, when you talk about a super team, let's be clear, that wasn't the issue the first three-peat. That wasn't what happened. I recall Scottie Pippen needing to be developed. I recall Scottie Pippen not being ready. Now, I love me some Scottie Pippen, and he's one of the greatest ever. I give him mad love and respect. He's a six-time champion. There is no question that Michael Jordan would not have won those championships without Scottie Pippen. I am not trying to disrespect him at all, but he is no MJ, and he had to develop into being the champion that he was because Michael Jordan had to carry that load, not just in terms of being on the basketball court, but having the mental toughness, the psyche to compete against those bad boy Pistons. If you think I'm lying, ask Isaiah and Joe Dumars and Bill Laimbeer and the others.
Doubt.
It was Michael and everybody else. So again, when we talk about a super team, they were super because of MJ. That's number one. Number two, they weren't a super team until after they got Rodman. Prior to that, it was MJ, it was Pippen, and then there were a bunch of supplementary parts, the Paxsons of the world, the B.J. Armstrongs of the world, the three-headed monster at the center division, and Cartwright and Stacey King and Bill Wennington. Horace Grant was not a star. He was not a star.
He was an all-star player.
He was not a star. Period. When we
He's
talk
kind
about
of who
a
you
super
wanted
team,
at power
excuse
forward.
me, we listen to you. Just stop it. You're embarrassing yourself even talking about this. Anybody knows that Horace Grant was not a star. Stop it. It wasn't true. I like
not
him.
A superstar.
He was a good
very,
player.
very good player.
He was a good player. He was not a star. Okay? And if you want to know what questions exist about Horace Grant, no disrespect whatsoever, but could you give up the ball fast enough to a guy like, who was it, Paxson? I think it was Paxson. When you passed that ball against Phoenix, I mean, my Lord, you talk about having, that was a different definition of a hot hand. It's like a hot potato. Let me get the ball out of my hands real quick. Just stop it, okay? So this is basketball. That wasn't him that won the super team until the second three-peat. And by the way, when you look at Michael Jordan, he was retired, came out of retirement, only played 17 games in the regular season, and then came back. They got Rodman, had the all-time record, and then three-peated. I get what your point is about super teams, but it wasn't like he needed to formulate that in order to capture a first championship like LeBron did, in order to capture a first championship like Kevin Durant did. No, Michael Jordan put in the work and did it first.
He's the best who ever did it.
And then the second go-round, they got a super team. So don't give me no super teams.
He's the best who ever did it.
Hold it. Don't give me my
Michael
point.
Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, and shooters is a super team.
Oh, stop it. Just you're embarrassing yourself. The point is this. Michael Jordan three-peated before there was ever a super team that could be associated with his name, which gives him the qualifications to make the statement he made because he didn't do what they did in order to get a ring. He had 3 and then had a super team. There's
no
a difference.
one is as good as Michael Jordan. No one is good as Michael Jordan. There's no doubt. We can quibble about the quality of the first three-peat, but then in the second time, you don't deny he was. You don't deny that he was on a three-peat the second time, right? That's
yeah,
one.
But he won after he had 3
what about
rings.
him? What's that got to do with being on a super team? So he's still on a super team, and as an owner, he's lamenting.
Because he's lamenting that they went to a super team to capture a ring. He already had 3.
No, he's lamenting as an owner that if there's too much of a concentration of great players on a couple teams, the other teams are no good. And my point is, not only was he on a super team, we could argue whether he was on 6 or 3 of them. That's beside the point.
They were super
but
because
he's also
of him.
been the partly, mostly yes, but there were other reasons too. And but Stephen A., that still skirts the issue here, because the issue as an owner is he's saying it's not fair that the other teams have super teams. There's not enough talent to go around. And my point is, Mike, you've been the owner the whole time when Golden State was putting together their team. Why don't you have a super team?
Because
Why are you crying about it?
Because number 1, he's in the Bible Belt. Number 2, he didn't end up with a number 1 overall pick. Have you been down to Charlotte, Carolina? You can't just bring everybody there. Let me tell you something right now. You got cats acting up. They don't align in terms of their behavior. They don't align just right. Charlotte gets rid of you. They allowed the franchise to walk away rather than tolerate knuckleheads on their squad. It's different being in a Bible Belt. I'm not excusing the struggles that he had early on. Please don't get me wrong.
Fellas,
what I'm simply saying,
soon.
however, he got to take all of that into consideration. There's reasons as to why he is at Golden State.
Mike, get your ownership game up, Mike.
Either.
Get your ownership game up, Mike. Don't complain. Don't cry. Win.